Alright guys, it's time to cut out your drawing of your knife and transfer it to the steel. Now I know in the last video I forgot step 7, and I'll cover it right now really quick, and it says everything looks bigger on paper. So when you're designing, if you think it's big enough, make it a tiny bit bigger. I've made this mistake a few times, and you end up getting something a little smaller than you would like. At least that's my experience. So that was tip number 7. Alright, so for cutting it out, and I'm just going to do this really quick. I know it's not on camera, but I'm going to give myself a little bit of room, and that's the idea here, is give yourself some room for error. We're all new, like I said in the previous video. This way you can make adjustments. You cannot put steel back on after you've taken it off, obviously. So just a quick little cut out here, and let's see. Okay. That's it. See, very, very rough. I did that in 2 minutes because we're going to follow the pencil lines. We're going to go right outside the lines when we cut this out. Okay? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my, there we go, get your bar of steel, your 1084, right there. And you're going to go get some spray glue. I use this one, the 3M Super 77. Works pretty good, and it comes right off with WD-40, because you'll see it's going to be a sticky mess in a little bit. We take our steel, and we need about that much coverage with the glue. See you later. I'll get that in a second. Alright, so you take your glue, spray it on the steel, and you're going to get a big sticky mess like that. You see where it's shiny and it's covered in glue? Alright, let me get my, there we go. We're going to take it and just stick it right to the steel. Make sure your drawing's on it everywhere, and just kind of iron it on with your finger. Just like that. Now you want to, because this is pencil, you want to try not to touch the pencil lines when you're cutting. Okay? For this one I'm going to do it on a metal cutting bandsaw. I know a lot of you don't have it. This is a cheap Harbor Freight deal. You know, I'm spinning around, I'll show you. Sorry about the shaking. This guy right here, it's a cheap Harbor Freight bandsaw. It cost me 80 bucks, and it is worth its weight in gold if you're going to do this a lot. You can use an angle grinder or even a hacksaw will work just fine, but I use this one and it's been great so far. As you see, I have kind of the ghetto solution to mounting it. It's just mounted in a vise. Alright, so we're going to use that. Also, as far as blades for it, you can use the one that come with. They will snag every once in a while. I go to Home Depot and I get these. They're Milwaukee, what's the TPI on these? 18 TPI. Okay, you can get like 24 TPI, which I think this blade is. They cut very, very slowly. Cutting metal is slow to begin with, but these are painfully slow. Alright, so try the 18 or the 24 TPI teeth. Everybody says get good bi-metal blades. I'm pretty sure that's what they are. I don't know. They work. Alright, I'm going to switch the cameras around and we'll get a look at me cutting this out on the bandsaw. Alright guys, so this is what we end up with. As you can see, I left a little bit around the edges. I'm sorry if I'm talking loud, my ears are ringing from this stupid thing. But that's okay, we're going to grind to the line now, so we'll get the shape we wanted. Alright guys, we're going to finish out the profile here. We're going to get it nice and close. And the way I'm doing this is I have the work rest on the grinder, and I'm just going to feed it into a used For a low power grinder, I would go maybe even a 36 grit, but a very low grit belt, a very aggressive belt. But you want to use a used one because you're going to destroy a new one pretty quickly. And I'm just going to feed it in just like this. And of course, anytime you use the grinder, you want to use a respirator. I'm not going to, so I can talk to you. But yeah, in general, eyes and a respirator. Still want to leave yourself a little bit of room, as you see I did on the tail there. And don't worry so much about the heat. Heat is not critical at this point. I wouldn't get it red smoking hot, but you really don't have to worry so much. Okay, for radiuses like this, you want to run the belt way off the platen. Like that. See, I don't know if you can see from the video. I'll make it come up on the GoPro. And just use the flex of the belt to get in there, or the corner. Alright, that looks pretty good there. You can see my pencil lines are starting to go away, but just to the edge of the pencil line, like right there. I could take a tiny bit more off the nose, but the general shape is there. But it leaves us with a very, very rough spine, as you can see. But that's okay, we're going to clean that up later. Alright guys, now we got to clean up all these 50 grit scratches. You see, you definitely don't want that, and you don't want them going this way either. So we want the scratches to go along the spine, like this. And there's a real simple solution to this. There's two ways to do it. I'll show you, I guess I'll show you both ways. First way, to make sure you're getting everything straight, and you don't want it kind of canted on an angle like this. You want it nice and straight. The first thing I'm going to do is I have one of these 1, 2, 3 blocks here, and these are perfectly flat, and what I did was I shimmed the flat plat, and this is against my work rest, and even the cheap grinders come with a work rest, so you can do this at home too. Get you one of these big old clamps, line this up so you are perfectly 90 degrees. Slide that over a little bit. You clamp it down, just like that. Pull out your shim, in this case was another work rest. But anything flat works. And now, all I have to do is use this as a guide, and everything will be nice at 90 degrees. Okay? This I switched over to a 120 grit belt. This will refine some of those scratches, and we're just going to kind of clean this up just a little bit more. And this is why you leave a little bit of room. We're coming awfully close to our lines now. Okay. The second method is freehand. So what you want to do, you want to hold it kind of like you're praying. This way you know it's centered. If you do one of these and you're off to the side, you're going to end up grinding off one side more than the other. You can either do it like this or get in there like this. But keep it directly in front of you, just like this. Okay? When you're working on a wheel, never stop. Don't just leave it there. You're going to dig a divot. You don't want that. See? Starting to clean up. Okay, so here's what we got. All nice and cleaned up except for the choil. We're going to have to do that now. It's a 120 grit finish. And you want it nice and smooth like that. The lines all going one direction, okay? It doesn't have to be finish, your finish smooth. Whatever finish you want to end up with. So you're not looking at my fat stomach anymore. Now you get to look at me for a little bit. Alright? Well, kinda. Alright, so here's what we got. And we're going to get this paper template off because we don't need this anymore. So I soak it in WD-40 and then just kind of rub it off. So I'll show you what that looks like in a second too. Alright, so I soaked it in WD-40. And as you can see, the template should come right off. Okay, you're going to have some gluey residue. It's all kinds of nasty. Just keep soaking it in WD-40. You could use acetone or something like that. I use WD-40. It's cheap and easy. And just keep on rubbing it until you get it nice and clean. Alright? Next step is going to be drilling the holes. I almost forgot, we're not done profiling. For this, I'm going to use a half round file. This is a modern Nicholson, which aren't as good as the old ones, but it does the job. I got this from Home Depot, and this is the style you want, the half round. Okay, also pick up a file brush, or they call this a file card. And what this does is it gets all the metal chips and stuff that get stuck in the file out. So every once in a while I'll just hit it with the card. So we got to clean up this choil. This will finish our profiling. And being we don't have a small wheel attachment or something like that, we're just going to get in there with the file and round it out. As you see, I kind of turn it as I go through. You don't want to get the edges to dig in, but you want to make use of the whole file and every bit of that convex shape. And just keep pushing along and pushing along. This will take some time. That's what we got. That's what it looks like in there. See that? My hands are covered in all kinds of knife making garbage. See? Not the best finish ever, but we have to go back and clean that up anyway. And now you really want to test it out in your hand. Let me zoom you out. Oh, wrong way. Really test the knife out in your hand. Squeeze it, see if you got any hot spots. Typically on this type of design you get a hot spot right here. So later on we could kind of bring that back just a hair and soften that up a little bit. But otherwise, that's it for profiling. And now we're on to drilling.